Hello, this is Mrs. Bio with fifth grade assessments. What assessments are used for fifth grade? We have NWEA, the Northwest Evaluation Assessment. We have Azella, Arizona English Language Learner Assessment. We have benchmarks and DFAs. And we have the state assessments for reading, math, writing, and science. Why do these assessments take place? The purpose of our assessments is to gather information about student progress, to see if the education goals of the students are being met, and it helps us with decisions on grades, placement, advancement, instructional needs, and curriculum. And through all this, we are forced to ask ourselves when planning for students, what do we want students to learn? How do we know if they are learning? How will we respond if they don't learn? How will we respond if they already know it? When do these assessments take place? NWE, NWEA takes place 3 times throughout the year. First one in August, the second one in December, and the last one in May. Azella is assessed twice a year. First one in October, second one in February. For DFAs and benchmarks, DFAs are given every Friday, and we give one as the first assessment one Friday. And for students who did not do so well on it, they will get a second try the following Friday. Benchmark assessments are given at the end of each quarter. So each quarter has about 9 weeks in the quarter. So the first benchmark is given on week 7, and the second benchmark is given on week 9. And these are assessments about all the standards that were taught in each quarter. State assessments begin in the middle of March to the beginning of April. Where do these assessments take place? In WEA assessments, the teachers are expected to assign this test to the students, and the scores have to go in, meaning that the teacher has to close that test in order for the scores to go in. For that reason, in-person students will have to come into the school to take the assessments with their teacher, and online students will take the assessment with their online teachers. Azella, if you have ever filled out a home survey application saying that your child speaks 2 languages at home, they will be taking the Azella assessment, and this assessment checks is where all the students have to come in to take the assessment because they have their own testing group that tests each student on their own. And then DFAs and benchmarks, we cannot print them, and for that reason, in-person students will have to come in and do the assessment with their classroom teacher. Online students will take the assessment with their online teachers. And this assessment is given through Performance Matters. State assessments, because teachers are trained on how to give this assessment, um, and we're held accountable for this assessment. And on top of all that, the assessment comes with a testing ticket. We cannot allow students to take the test from home. So they have to come into the school to take the assessment. How do these assessments help with instruction? NWEA tells us what your child knows and is ready to learn. So it just shows us their learning levels so that when we are planning for them, we know exactly how to reach each child individually through our lesson plans. Azella checks to see how the instruction from the teacher is helping the child become more proficient in English. DFAs and benchmarks, it tests how the student's understanding of each standard. So these students are tested mostly in math and reading through DFAs weekly and through benchmarks quarterly. And this helps us to learn about how the learning abilities of each student and how we can help them to get to the level they need to be at. And for these assessments, it is usually included in the student's final grade for each standard. State assessments help us to support the learning of students. It tells us how the student is progressing. It assesses for accountability of students and teachers, meaning that the teacher is actually teaching what the student needs to learn. It helps to assess for certification of teachers, meaning that it tells us through the class testing how the teacher's teaching is effective. And it helps us to progress students through the grade levels, meaning that the students are moving higher and higher to their grade level every year. So this is how assessments help with instruction. So our overall goal for assessments is to improve student learning. I hope this makes clarifications on why we do so much testing. If you have any questions about it, you can contact the school at any time to ask questions. And thank you for your time. Have a good evening.